Brother Snail, would you do the invocation for us? Thank you.
Please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today with thanks for this beautiful day, Lord. Lord, just be with us as we go through our procedures today with the documentary stuff of the Cherokee Nation. Help us, Lord, to make good decisions. Help us to work as brothers and sisters in this council. And Lord, we ask for your blessings and thank you very much for everything. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Shelley, would you do the roll for us?
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
Bill England. Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden. Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Meredith Bailey. Janelle Fulbright. Don Garvin. Tina Gloria Jordan. Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton. Sarah Callan Watts.
Oh, honey.
I want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. I know 9 o'clock seems to be getting earlier and earlier, especially as we go into the winter season, but hopefully we'll get used to it here in a week or so. I want to thank the staff for their cooperation during the budget hearing. I thought we did a good job of getting this group of group leaders through the budget hearings and move those along fairly smoothly. Don't see anybody in the audience that we don't know. I see Mr. DeGeorge is with us today. Thank you for coming. But let's move on, and I'd like to get a motion for the approval of minutes for the August 12th regular session.
So moved.
Second. Moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. First off on reports is Norma Merriman, and I believe Norma furnished a written report. Norma, but if you'd like to come forward and give us some more highlights, we'd appreciate it.
Well, I thought I had grabbed my report and it's David's. So I'm not very well prepared. I thought I was ahead of the game this morning. Gosh, after the budget hearings and trying to get new programs off the ground, I'm not sure that I have a lot to report. The only thing I did want to do, just from our discussion previously, is to update you on some of the areas that had expressed interest in a possible senior nutrition site and where those were. PEGS and OK have been talked to on different occasions. Lisa tells me that they're both doing pretty well with the grants and the money they raise on what they charge for the meals. From what I understand, and they know that they just the ball is now pretty much in their court to come to us and say, yes, we want to do it. They would like our financial support, but with financial support there always comes, some rules and regulations, and some of them aren't ready to accept those. Part of the problem in it's not a problem, but the situation in both of those areas is that there are not a lot of Indians that eat in those places. The process is that if we join together, the native people that eat there would not have to pay. The other people would. I think the people that are there feel like it would make a shift in relationships, and they don't feel like that it's worth that. So at the time that they do, now some of this is just what Lisa believes. Some people have told her that. So she just, the ball's kind of in their court. We have 2 other places that we've given information to. Fairfield, they're working on getting their commercial equipment, and Taiwan. And Kara just left, so I'm not sure. They've had the information that they need also, so now it's just people coming back to us, letting us know what they want to do next.
Norma?
Yes.
How many nutrition sites are there?
Oh, I believe there's about 13, if I'm not getting it mixed up with another count.
And then are most of our nutrition sites, I guess they all charge, is that right?
Yes, there's differences in who they have to charge and who they don't have to charge and those kinds of things.
I know at Kansas they had an already site there, and it got to be a little bit of a problem because we had a lot of people coming out of, I understood it was Flint Ridge, and they.
I think that's what I think that you're right about
And
that.
they were, complaining about, they had to pay and the Indians didn't have to, so
That's.
I think if it's known up front, maybe,
Mhm.
hopefully it'll take care of itself. So yeah, it does cause some friction.
Right, and I'm sure that when that site started, it was made known. New people coming in may not be accepting of that, and don't really understand how we have to operate, so.
And just to follow up, I think on some of these nutrition sites like the Oaks site, I don't think there's a problem there because most of that site is probably 90 to 95% native there, so not a big problem there. But I could see where like maybe the pigs, the OK, or the ones you mentioned may have some problems there.
We have various sites around that some have decided they don't want to, I'm thinking of one, and I can't really remember the relationship where it is, but it's around Grand Lake. There was one that decided to opt out. You may know who that is. I can't remember.
No, I don't, but I was going to mention Uchi is building a community center over there, and I've asked them to get a hold of Lisa to maybe help them look at some of these cooking stuff that they need to put in there.
Sure.
It could help them. So
Sure.
I think they're going to apply, but it's probably going to be a year or so process.
And I did give Mr. Garvin a
Yes,
report
Mr.
this morning on his question.
Garden, yeah.
You didn't mention OK, are they still trying?
Yes, okay, PEGs and OK.
Oh, yeah.
Same situation with OK as there is PEGs. Lisa's talked with them, but it's that same situation. I don't know what the percentages are, but there aren't a lot of Indians that are there, and they're one of the ones that believe that if they have to make a difference in who pays and how they pay and those kinds of things, it could cause some friction. She says both of those sites are actually going along very well. So, and I'm sure they are, or they would have called us. I really don't have anything other than I think everybody knows that we're working on getting the new Bright Futures program off the ground in Adair County. I have hired a couple of people to fill those slots. I don't know that they've been offered yet, but I've sent my desires into Human Resources, and we hope that they'll be able to start by 10/1 or shortly thereafter. We're meeting with the schools. We feel like that's going to be a good program. Healing to Wellness Court is we're working very hard to get that solidified. We have about 9 kids in that program in various stages of progress, 2 that are lined up to graduate very soon. That's very good news. We have some that aren't doing so well, and we're trying to go back and regroup with them. But great cooperation with the courts, and I'm very hopeful about that program getting up and moving along much better. So RAP continues to be a new and interesting challenge. But staff is good and everybody's positive, and we're looking at rewriting some policies. So we'll let you know as that happens. We hope by the end of the year we'll have some new policies in place. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the report. I have one more question here, Norman. Now.
Norman, have you heard from my brother Jerry?
I haven't. I don't know if he's got an elk or not.
He might be lost.
He might be lost. Well, did you put a GPS on him?
Well, I've been calling.
He's supposed to be back. He's supposed to be back Thursday. Yeah.
Thank you, Norman. Next up is Community Services with Charlie Stoke. I believe, Charlie, you submitted a report, but come up and give us some highlights, if you like.
I think all of you received the report, and any questions? Hope not. I just want to say that I want to thank the council members for all their hard work for going through the budget process. I know it's sitting at the table looking at budgets and all. It's a lot of people probably don't realize it, but it's tiring, and mentally, physically, and all. But I just want to say thank you all for all the work you do for our people in our communities and making money available to our people, to getting help. So if there's no more questions, I'll sit down.
Yes, we have one, Councilor.
I would have one.
me something about rural water district number 3, and I can't remember what it was. You were looking into if we could help them with some of the remaining money for taking that line up to Lowry.
Yes, I think Lowry's doing well. And matter of fact, the only, they're installing the tower, and I think we're okay in Lowry.
Well, the problem was number 3 didn't have enough money to pay for it. And so I don't know how they're handling, I don't know if that's going to come back on all of us.
I remember something about that. Let me get with Billy and I'll get back
And I
with him.
couldn't remember, I thought you told me something once.
I did,
I can't
and
remember what it was, and I need to call that gentleman.
Okay, I remember, but I forget also. Let me get back with him.
If you could look into that, I'd sure
Okay,
appreciate it.
all right.
Councilor Baker.
Yeah, Charlie, we've been talking about rural water district 8, and it says here that you have given them some money to help with installing meters, valves, locate leaks, with an MOA of $20,900, and I think Billy said that he had loaned them a backhoe. Is that accurate? And then it says that we got some self-help surveys out that to put it on IHS funding list. Do you know how that's going?
It seems to be moving pretty well. Matter of fact, I talked with Dick, and there's also, that's moving along pretty good, and also there's, I think they're applying for a REAP grant, $100,000 from the county commissioners to assist with that. And if they do get it, then I think council approved some money for that, and then we'll probably put in the matching funds for that, and then also include self-help with that. So it's coming along well.
Okay. But we have money for matching funds?
Yes.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Any more questions for Charlie? Thank you, Charlie.
You bet. Thank you.
David Sutherland, Housing Services.
The handout for you all is the info on the additions that are paid. Go ahead and put paid and unpaid, so it'll show all the additions by county. I'll just let you pass them around, and Shelley can keep what's extra. If you need any more follow-up information, just give me a holler, and we can provide that. I'd received an email from Mr. Councilman Hoskins this morning about, he's asking a couple of questions on apartments and inspections and things of that nature, and I'll just briefly address what he was asking about. One of the issues was, do we do citizenship inspections on apartments? And no, we don't do citizenship inspections on apartments. We do annual inspections on every apartment or every mutual help home or Nahazda home that we have under management. We do that annually. We also recertify everyone annually. If there's new people in the house or in the apartment and they're over 18 years of age, we do a background check. But as long as there's someone that's already meets the classification of a citizen in there, we would collect their information, but it's not necessary that they be a citizen. I'm talking about Cherokee Nation citizen. And then it talked about empty units at J. We have had some empty units everywhere, and part of that is just the way things. We've always got some empty units, but right now we've got more than we've had in a while. Part of that's the economy, but we do go by a waiting list when we choose families to go into those. They pull the family's application off the waiting list, they update it, they recertify the income if needed. If that information is more than 120 days old, which generally it is, once we do that, we offer the apartment to the family. The family then, there's some security deposits that they have to put up. And that seems to be the biggest problem in this whole process of putting those in timely, because we work with them and give them every opportunity to come up with those security deposits. We might give them 45 days, and then they say, we just can't come up with it. And then we start the process again, so we got vacant unit there for quite a while. What we're looking at is approaching the board to see if they'll do away with that security deposit. They start at $100 for, I think it's a 1-bedroom and a 0-bedroom, all the way up to $250 for a 4-bedroom. When someone moves out, yeah, that helps to repair the apartment, but it generally doesn't cover the entire cost. It would allow us to put someone in there quicker, because like I said, that's the biggest obstacle in getting them in. But that's kind of how we do things. We got a policy we go by as far as preference, elderly, disabled, handicap in the apartments. It's not like renting one down here at the big 2-story thing where Joe Blow owns the apartment. You go in, and if you got your money, you're going to go in right now. If not, it's the next person walks in the door. Well, we don't do that. We go by the waiting list, and it does take a little longer. But if any of y'all have any follow-up questions on that, I'd be happy to.
Well, it's not on that, but I had some folks call David that they had received one of your letters that if, and they're in apartments, they're elderly and handicapped, and I know probably what has happened is you've sent this letter to everybody. But the letter says if your people go out to mow and they have to get off the mower to pick up trash or whatever, it's going to cost it costs the occupant $25. Well, the particular man that the first one that called has no legs. The next one that called is in the bed, can't get up. And I'm assuming that you probably sent it to everyone, and I'm wondering if there's a way that we can accept out our handicap and elderly from such a rule, which is a good rule. Everybody should keep their place clean. But I think some of them are unable to do so.
Right. Well, this came up, I think, yesterday, and talked with staff, and we're going to kind of back off that letter. It does. You got to look at it from who you're dealing with, who's your audience, and it's those types of folks that if they're going to get caused. If someone throws something down in their yard, we charge them $25. But $25 is a lot of money to the people that's in those apartments. And maybe we don't really pick up on that every time we send out a letter, but we're going to redo the letter. Because all that information is a part of what they're counseled on, keeping their inside and outside clean when they move in. And
I'm not suggesting don't send a letter because...
well, it can be reworked. That's kind of...
but to mutual help and to low rent where they're capable of keeping their areas clean, they should keep their areas clean.
Right.
And I know it was an ongoing problem when I was there that, they park a car and fill it up, and park another car and fill it up. And,
well, even we got elderly folks that are certainly capable. We got some folks that are 80 years old that are out there walking every day that can keep their place. But it puts stress on them when they get that type of...
Probably the ones that was most concerned are the ones that probably try to keep their place
clean.
The ones that didn't talk to us don't.
Yeah.
That may be a problem with them. And I know in the subdivisions, we've got those rules in all the subdivisions where they need to keep their area clean and not have chickens in their yard and such. So I hope you'll continue on those. But I know in the elderly and handicapped, I was hoping that maybe we could give them a little benefit there.
Yeah. We're addressing that. And we've had more mowing. This is, of course, you all know that too. I need to mow today, but
we'll have to mow probably November. Later. My grass is green now as it was up in the summer. If not better, I could bale it now.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I have Miss Fishing Hawk, Mr. Baker, Mr. Cobb, Mr. Snell. Miss Fishing Hawk.
We've been talking about getting the Cobra.
Yes.
I got a call the other day complaining that one of them did keep his insurance with us, and the other ones didn't. and they're wanting to know why.
Don't know who that would have been. Whoever would have kept insurance would have had to come to work for the nation. The housing authority doesn't have a policy. We're not paying on anyone's.
Okay. I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
after 9.
Okay.
Okay.
Last night you reported that HUD was coming in to 3 days to see how we were doing with the hospital.
Well, it's HUD has a consultant firm called ADCO. They've actually been here once before, a couple years ago. Kind of forgot what they were studying, but it's more of a study for HUD. It's not necessarily how effective we're doing with it. It's how effective the program is in general to meeting the needs of the tribal members. Pretty general thing. I don't expect a lot out of it. I don't even remember getting a report from the first one they did. They're going to be here. The deal at Tahlequah is at 6 o'clock, Greg Glass Building on Monday night, and then the other one is at the J Senior Housing Tuesday evening. I'm assuming it's at 6 also. You're welcome to come visit with them.
It just kind of concerned me that they're going to come, and I sure hope they didn't ask how many houses we built last year.
Well, I think that what they study or what they're looking at is more of is the current direction effective for the tribal members? Not necessarily how many houses you build, but is it addressing the needs?
Okay.
Councilor Cobb.
Where does, I saw on here you've got the East Park Edition in Bartlesville.
Mm-hmm.
Where does Kilo Heights fall into all this? Who takes care of that? I'm just curious.
We do.
It's just different.
Yeah, it's a low rent. I think that we were looking at,
okay.
because all our low rent apartments have either concrete or blacktop additions.
Got it. I was just curious. Thank you.
Councilor Snell.
Yes, when you rehab a house, when you rebuild, how do you determine, does the inspector go out and inspect that house and tell you what you need in there?
Yeah, he does a write-up on, they look at the things that's, does it need heat and air? Does it need structural stuff? Does the floor need addressed? Does the roof need addressed? Those types of things. And then it's also based on the cost. There's only, you don't have an unlimited bank account, so.
Right. Okay, then, after he performs his work, you send the inspector out and inspect it before the contractor paid for his work,
That's correct.
and then the inspector will make any corrections or...
Yeah, if they see something in the process there that needs to be changed, we didn't correct, as long as it's not a big item, maybe do a change order. They don't do very many change orders. It's just not a good idea to do them, but they do have that capability as long as it's a minor thing. An example would be the one you asked me about the other day, where the vanity was one of them iffy things. Our inspector, when he first went out, didn't really think it needed it, I guess. Contractor said, it could go either way. Well, we chose to go ahead and do it because we're redoing the bathroom, so we're going to change that vanity. It's not a high dollar thing, and
Right, it's not a high dollar item.
Right.
Take that long to change it.
right.
And on that particular house, like, with the painting, they didn't cut in, it just, little stuff that they could look to me like, for the price they get, they could do this a little better job, It wouldn't take them long to, and they may touch it up before they leave it. There's some of the tile, that have more good 1/4-inch cracks in it and stuff. So little stuff like that, they could tighten up and make a little better job. I think they're getting a good enough contract to do that, complete that work.
We'll do a little follow-up on that one.
It may be redone, they may do it before they leave it.
Right, and those things, you know, there's a final inspection, and, you know, I'm not sure if the same inspector's doing that is the one that's doing the inspection throughout. Maybe that's something we need to look at.
Just to follow up on that, David, what Councilor Snell was talking about, I think it's really important that our inspectors do those type of jobs. If we're contracting out to a contractor to do those jobs, I think the inspector should keep in mind who he's working for, that he takes care of those Indian families out there, because without him, you know, I know some of these contractors, they'll go in and do half a job they should be doing. So I think it behooves our inspectors that they stay on the ball and stay on top of those guys and don't hesitate to call them down on them. Anyway, I just want to reinforce what Carl.
I don't even know who the inspector is on that one, but we've had another one that they've pretty much done away with him.
Right.
The quality of the work.
Councilor Jordan has a question on Chris Soto.
I was just going to tell you, David, on Hilltop, Bill John and I signed the papers yesterday to get that Hilltop Circle paved.
Good, thank you.
First one. You might let those people know that that's going to happen.
Good. Councilor Soto.
Is that on the purchasing side of materials and things? Do we have like annual contract pricing, or do we just do kind of spot market and stuff? The reason I'm asking is because, you know, the potential for the hurricane to impact and cause an increase in pricing on it.
We have a couple of 2 or 3 places where we've done what's called blanket PO, and I'm trying to remember the exact time frame. If it's 6 months or a year, I think it was 6 months, and then they update the process. They're fixing to redo it right now because it's the end of the fiscal year, so they'll be redoing those. But generally speaking, everything is bid out, has to be bid as needed.
Okay.
Councilor Snell.
Yes, David. On these streets, who's responsible for those streets? Is that the housing authority, or the county, or the city, or?
What should have happened? I can't guarantee every one of these was this way. We did go back in the late 90s, mid 90s, and tried to make sure they were all dedicated to the county. If it's generally these housing additions are outside the city limits, generally speaking. There's a few exceptions, but we would dedicate those to the county, and what we had to do was, you know, get them the plat done and all that kind of business, get it filed with the county. And like I said, that was should have been done at the time that they were building them. That wasn't always the case, and we went back, like I said, in the 90s, late 90s, and had that done on several of these developments. But once it's done that way, the county is accepting responsibility for it. And just recently over in Stillwell, Adair County, the county commissioner come in and did pave one of these additions, Smith Addition. Jody kind of ramrodded that, and Joe, and got that done, and we were real appreciative of that. But generally speaking, it's the county.
Okay, we got that upper in Kansas, and that Vaughn Street, north of town. Vaughn Street, I think, up in Little Kansas. That road up there, just that street is about a 3/4 mile probably. Just a terrible, terrible street.
Did you say in Little Kansas?
Little Kansas. Vaughn Addition, I think it's called. And I can check with the county commissioner up there, you know, see if it's been dedicated to him. I couldn't find it here on the.
That's the one that's got like, how many houses in there? Like 3 or 4? Half a dozen?
12.
It's possible that they've only included the what's called the new mutual help. Those built since '78, I believe it is. Has that been there longer than that?
These were built in the 90s.
Okay. I don't see that on here either. I'll check on that one.
Okay. Thank you.
David, has the housing program gone through it and used up all the lumber stuff that we required in Dawson Road?
No. Rehab is used a little, I think. We used one on a house over in Adair County, but general, no. Still down there as far as I know. Todd would be a better source of info on that.
I mean, it would just make sense that instead of letting it sit there and just dry rot and everything, that we maybe...
Well, I think there's a plan to use it with rehab.
Okay.
Just hadn't happened on the full scale yet, I don't think.
Because, I mean, it's a fully stocked lumber yard that we got.
Yeah, things like paint,
Yeah.
you know, that type of stuff,
Need to get
that
rid
don't
of.
last forever and that needs to be used.
David, I've got a couple of things I wanted to run by you this morning. Now, and I'll do the cluster housing first. Councilor Jordan had talked about, picking up the trash and stuff in the yards, and that's great. I don't see anything wrong with the letter that you sent out, but I understand we have maintenance people hired to take care of the yards and stuff like that, the mow the grass and stuff in these housing districts. I've just noticed some of the housing districts, they're not doing a good job, I'll just put it that way. What's happening is they go in and they wait till the grass gets about 6 or 8 inches tall, and they'll go in and mow it, and you see windrows of grassland out there on the yard. The other thing is the curb and gutter around some of these housing districts. There's never any weed eating or any grass kill that grows up between the curb and the sidewalk. Now, we're all trying to better where our people live, and if we can't do a better job on taking care of the maintenance of the thing, how do we expect our people to do likewise? So I guess what I'm saying, David, is we have supervisors that are over our maintenance caretakers, and maybe we don't have enough people to take care of it, but I'd like to see our housing additions for our Cherokee people to be nice as anybody else that's within our 14 county, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Mm-hmm. And I just think that there's been some lackness on the supervisors, and probably maybe even training on the people that takes care of the maintenance on those grounds. So I wish that I would request that you meet with those people and ask them to do a better job. I think with Councilor Baker and Councilor Jordan improving the situation here at Hilltop, I think they're going to see a model housing program setting out there, and I'd like to see our other houses like that. I realize they're old, but still, I just think that even if you got an old car, you could keep it clean and wash it sometime. It looks a lot better, but it just disturbs me when I go by and drive some of these housing areas to see that, especially when we're paying $14, $16, $17 an hour for our maintenance people. So anyway, I know you've got a lot on your plate, but I wish that you'd bring this up in a meeting and see if we couldn't get a better job at our cluster housing side. I just think it'd look a lot better and put a little bit more pride in the people that live there. So
you are talking about the lower end apartments,
lower
right?
end.
Okay.
Yes. I appreciate it if you'd speak to those people and see if we couldn't dress it up a little bit more. I do notice some things with weed eating. They don't weed eat around the houses at all. The grass is growing up on the side of the houses, and even some of the chain link fence. I've seen some of those down for the last year. Just little things like that makes a difference in where a person lives. That take a bit more pride in what they're doing, and especially our Indian folks like to see them have a nice place to live and be proud of where they're living. So I'd appreciate it if you'd mention that to the staff. The other thing is I've had a call from, and you can help me with this, and maybe this is not in your department, but it's from some of our kids are going to college, and the housing authority is paying, or the housing is paying some of that rent.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still handle that, or does that go through
Norma?
Through Norma. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is Norma still here?
No. I'm sorry, I was reading my BlackBerry. You want to read that question?
I guess this question would be to Norma and David, and maybe you just wait up there and help us for a minute, but since you did handle the program at one time. But what the problem is, Norma, is I've got some emails from some mothers that their kids are going to school, but the payment is not being received at the school for 2 or 3 months late. And what's happening is putting a burden on those families that have kids in colleges that we were paying for. They've been approved, but they're not getting their payments.
Well, there's 2 or 3 things that have happened. One is a budget crunch. We had to figure out a way to cover as many people as we could. What's happened in the past is the payments for dorm have been a payment for an entire semester.
Yes.
We went and talked to Marvin about that, and he said that really, it wasn't supposed to be done that way. You shouldn't make that much of a payment. So what we did is we went to each one of the colleges and talked with them, and they said that we could do it differently. So we can, and we don't have to pay them until, I think it's October for the first 2 months. So that bought us some time to get into our next budget cycle. So we've worked that out with the people who have been approved. Now I'm going to tell you, there's some people who have had dorm assistants that are probably not going to get it. I will tell you that I had to tell a woman this week that she was $140,000 over income, and she still couldn't understand why her daughter wasn't getting dorm assistance. So there's some situations like that quite honestly, folks.
And along that same line, Norma, was one that was living off campus. They couldn't.
Right.
They couldn't, and I don't know if you got the email, but I'll send it to you so you can review that.
I believe that we've sent out for all the people that are eligible and who are living off campus. We paid those first because it's harder for an individual landlord to wait. But we've negotiated with all the schools to make those and told them who we were going to pay for. And those people who were eligible should have received a letter. The letter was supposed to go out explaining to them what we were doing.
Okay.
So if they didn't get one, they can call the office in which they live at your place of BMJ, or they can always call me.
Okay, I'll send you the email I've got, because I wasn't
Sure,
sure if we could
that'd be
address
fine.
that too, and I'll send it and
Yeah,
get you
that'd be fine.
and help me out with that. Okay? Councilor Fulbright.
Could you get us an income guideline for the dorm assistants?
Sure.
And if you would, just mail it out or email it
Sure.
all.
Well, I'll send it to everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
We are going to be changing some of those policies for the dorm assistants. We won't do that until probably effective next semester, but to clarify some things, and we're not going to pay that full. What happens is if you pay that 4 or 5 months dorm assistance, and you know how some people get started and they don't like school after a month or 2, they don't send us back to us. So it's really not, I don't think, we want to handle our business just a little bit better and try to institute paying maybe every 2 payments in the semester rather than the whole thing, so that we won't have those losses. We can help them.
The other part of the email that I'll be sending you is so the other councilors will kind of know what we're talking about. Is an example. This one lady had a daughter that was going to attend TCC, but she couldn't find any apartments there in Tulsa because a lot of them don't offer dorm. And then she couldn't find an apartment, so she just was left out. Well, what's happening, and she made a suggestion that some of the landlords don't want to turn in the W-9s, don't have a tax ID number. That's if you're renting from an individual home. And she said some of the tribes are just giving the money to the kids directly. I guess a month at a time or 2 months at a time.
I don't think we would do that.
Well, I'm just telling you, that's what she's saying some of the other tribes are doing, and you'll see what the problem is, because she could not find a place in Tulsa to rent. So what they've done is just lost out on what she's telling me.
I'm doubting that even if I said we could do it, I doubt that finance would allow us to.
Mm-hmm.
And the W-9 is something we struggle with constantly because we always have to have those, and it's difficult on some people, but that's the rules I have to live with until they change. But if they can let us, if they'll contact us, staff has some names of folks in areas. Now, we may not have outside of the jurisdictional area, but why would that person not live in a dorm?
Well, they don't have Durham at Tulsa Community College.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, I'll send you the email and you'll get a better understanding of what she's asking, and I'll just CC some of the council, the council members, so they'll know what we're talking
But
about.
we have worked that out with the colleges where we had.
Okay, I understand that you did, yes.
Right. All right.
Okay, thank you. David, sorry I had you stand there, but I knew this was coming out of your program at one time. So, is there any more questions for Mr. Sutherland? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Moving along next is old business, and I see the water need for rural water district updates, and I think Charlie Self had pretty much give us an update on that Briggs rural water district, and is there any questions from the council members on that road? Council Baker.
Yeah, and Charlie did talk to us about Real Lake, but folks, we got water districts, other water districts as well, that are really struggling right now, and we've got several of them that are going to go out. And you know, you start looking at heavily Cherokee populated communities and stuff, and you start weighing maybe helping some of these water districts get on top versus going out and having to run on our wells. I mean, we're paying $10,000 a well, and if you're talking 200 or 300 families on a water district, I mean that's just a phenomenal amount of money. And I mean, I really think we need to start looking at these budgets and seeing if we can't find a way to help some of these water districts because they do just a tremendous service for our people, giving them clean, sanitary, and safe water. And really, it's a bargain. I mean, if you own a well, and by the time you pay your electric and you do your chemicals and you pull a well every so often, I mean, that's a really expensive proposition. And and I know it's not just this one. I know that we've got the similar problems other places. And you know, maybe we need to start looking at a fund that would be able to go around and help some of these water districts. I mean, this particular one, obviously, I'm concerned about. It's right here in Cherokee County, but you know, it was originally a self-help water, one of the first in Cherokee County self-help water lines that was put in, and we learned a lot on it. Unfortunately, it wasn't vetted like it should have been, or as much as it should have, with the kind of soil conditions that exist out there. But you know, it's sure enough a heavily percentage and populated Cherokee community, and so just be thinking about it.
Well, I would echo what Councilor Baker is saying, because I'm certainly familiar with the water lines and the well systems out here, and I think what he said is exactly right. You know, we can't let any water line that has a large population of Indians go under, and I don't think this is going to go under. I just think they're struggling out there. But I want to make sure that we keep on top of this, because if it does go under, you know, then we've got a lot of Indian folks out there that don't have water. So, you know, I'm interested in making sure that we can take care of the people out there. And I see Mr. DeGeorge in the crowd again today, but I continue to stress to work with Billy Hicks, Mr. DeGeorge, and if you need some more help out there, let us know. I just heard Mr. Stokes say a while ago that you were going to get a $100,000 grant. We're trying to get one from the funding agency, and we do have some match money. We've passed some legislation for water line extension, so we do have some money in there that, you know, if you get into trouble, let Mr. Stokes know about what the needs are out there, then come back to us again. So we're certainly not going to have a closed ear to you. Councilor Meredith Fraser, please.
Bill, John, do you know if a study has ever been done, an analysis of the water needs in the whole 14-county jurisdiction?
I don't think there has. I know they've looked at it 4 or 5 years ago, but there's such, I don't know, there's hundreds and hundreds of miles out there, and usually you don't get that until just to get them from individual districts is what you're needing, or what you're getting. But I don't never see one. I've never seen one for the whole 14-county jurisdiction out there.
Seems like there should be one, and then do a priority list. I mean, like Briggs apparently needs
Mhm.
a lot of help.
Now, I know,
So does Kenwood.
back 2 years ago, we did write letters to all of the districts in the 14 counties and had a summit here. And I don't know if Charlie has that report yet or not, but I think we did that 3 years ago. We had about 30 to 35 districts that come in and ask us, or we asked them to tell us what their need was out there, because we did a need assessment, and they should have that someplace, so.
Has anything been done about it?
Now,
Just
what
sitting
happens,
there?
what happened with that is, they looked at those and prioritized some of those and put them on the sanitation deficiency list through Indian Health Service. I do know that, but I don't know where it went from there. So some of those are on, and just to kind of clarify the Bridgewater line, it's a situation where it got funded through the Indian Health Service, and the way their funding goes, they don't get a lot of points because they already have existing water. If you don't have water, then you get more points for your needs. But here again, it's kind of a catch-22. So I think we'd have to use maybe some travel funds, and I also believe that Charlie told me that they're going to put it through the system for Indian Health Service to try to fund. But you know, to be honest with you, I don't know if they're going to get a lot of points because they've already been served. Anyway, I just want to make sure we stay on top of that, especially for the Briggs Street.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to thinking that, you know, if one of our water lines, say Cherry Tree over there and still in the Adair County or the Briggs here was facing, you know, shutting down or stopping operations or whatever, and we were faced with a well situation and maybe drilling wells and all that kind of stuff, we might look at assuming the running of the thing. It might be cheaper in the long run to look at an option like that. Kind of like we're looking at in some of our rural schools, maybe pumping some money into them and actually running the schools. I mean, something along that line might be cheaper and might provide better water for our people. I don't know.
Thank you for your comment. We looked at that, and actually the Cherokee Nation did operate 4 or 5 systems 18, 19 years ago.
Yeah.
And we finally come to the conclusion that it was better to let the rural water systems operated because we just didn't have the staff to do it. You know, it comes on 4 or 5 systems, then you need 4 or 5 operators and people that go out.
Well, what I was getting at is if you don't have anybody willing to do it, like,
yes, I understand.
and you're faced with actually going out and drilling wells for the people or whatever, it might put a little different flavor on it for us to try it.
Councilor Baker. Any more questions or any more comments? Moving on to new business, see none. Any announcements? Do we have any announcements we're going to make in this committee? Seeing none. Motion's been made to adjourn. I hear second. All in favor say aye. Aye.